Hello, everyone. I'm so happy to be here today with my friend Margie Bissinger, who's a physical therapist who has been working with osteoporosis for over 25 years and is producing. Last year, she produced an Osteoporosis Summit that was very, very, very helpful to all of the people that I know. And so this year, she's starting another Osteoporosis Summit with even more information. I should tell you who I am in case you don't know. I'm Dr. Shiroko Sokitch, owner of Heart to Heart Medical Center and the author of the book, Healing When It Seems Impossible, 7 Keys to Defy the Odds. And we're super excited to talk to Margie about osteoporosis and some helpful tips that we can use today. Welcome, Margie.
Oh, thank you so much. It's always such a pleasure being here with you and your community.
Thank you for being here. So, I would love if we could talk a little bit about how this new summit is different and what things people can learn.
Absolutely. Well, it's interesting because after last summit, it was just so exciting because so many lives were changed because people didn't know, didn't realize maybe what might be the root cause of their bone loss or that there was so much they can do because unfortunately in conventional medicine, a lot of these strategies just aren't known. And people just think, well, calcium, vitamin D, weight bearing exercise, and medication, possibly. So, but to learn that there were so many possibilities and find out maybe some of their root causes was just so wonderful. And I got so much email and just so many people thanking me. So I realized that the work is not done, but there were questions asked, and I wanted to continue the momentum and give people even more tools and also demonstrations. So some of the people that talked about great cooking tips or food we should add into our diets. This year I have 2 demonstrations because protein's a big issue. A lot of people as they get older aren't getting enough protein. And sometimes for a lot of people it's hard to figure out how do I get that safely and help, a good source in my diet. So we have a whole presentation a person, Irma Jennings, who's a nutritionist who's been working solely with osteoporosis also for quite a long time. She does that as a demonstration. And Dr. Sally Lamont, who's a naturopathic physician, does also another demonstration about good food and how you put it in. So I was really trying to give techniques and strategies so it's doable, so that you can listen and there's something for everyone that's easy to add into your life. So in terms of, so there's, more demonstrations, different exercises as well. And so, people who were on last year who I think are fabulous, for example, Joan Pagano, she's an exercise physiologist and she does this time how to set up your own home gym. So how you can do these strength training exercises within your house, what equipment you need, and she demonstrates the exercises. And one you'll love, Shiroko, is Dr. Matt Jeff. So he's a physical therapist, and Matt and I have been doing, we call it Bone Strong Qigong. So Qigong that really helps with stabilizing and really helps your bones. So he demonstrates some great exercises, like a little routine everybody can use for balance. And there's just, your talk's amazing. I love your talk. I think it is so wonderful because you show techniques. You show techniques to, improve kidney energy and to also certain acupressure points that everybody can use. So I really, really love your talk. And I'm really, I loved it so much, as you know, that I put it as one of the first talks that when everybody signs up, they get that
Yeah.
immediately and it doesn't go away. That talk is always there for people because I just thought, these aren't things people know. People don't know these acupressure points that they can just press or some of the good techniques that I've been doing it since you taught me. I've been doing some of them and they're great. They wake you up besides being good for your bones. So yeah, and there's just so many good doctors and different talks. I'm trying to think there's so many, but in terms of exercise also, Robin Eisen, she's a physical therapist and a Feldenkrais practitioner. And I'm not sure if you're familiar with Feldenkrais, but it's such a phenomenal method of re-educating the body. And it's hard to explain. It's one of those things you sort of need to try it to do it. And so Robin takes us through a really good it's a movement pattern. and to improve just the alignment of your hip, your knee, your foot. It's just great. So don't miss that. And then in Penelope Wasserman, she is a Pilates instructor. She's been specializes in osteoporosis, but also a dancer. So she takes us through a dance and a warm up because the ankle's your first line of defense against a fall. And so many people are wearing shoes all day and their foot is not moving the way it should. So she takes us through some great foot exercises even before the dance. So yeah, so there's just I could go on and on. There's 54 new talks, so a lot of a lot of information. And
Yeah.
there's just something I think for everybody, but it's really exciting to me because just to spread, the wealth of knowledge from all these experts to spread it and know that someone's life will be changed for it is really good.
That sounds awesome. I'm so excited to hear all those talks. Tell me a little bit more, like let's go dive a little bit deeper into a couple things. Like
Sure.
tell me a little bit more about protein and osteoporosis that might be helpful to people. Because I
Yeah.
think a lot of people as they get older are told to eat less protein because of possibly lower kidney function or other organs not working as well as they normally do as a younger person. So, what are the protein recommendations that might be
Yeah,
helpful?
it's really interesting because way back they thought, oh, too much protein is going to leach calcium from the bone. So
Yeah,
people,
yeah,
it was given a bad rap. But the research shows just the opposite. That as people get older, they're not getting enough protein and the matrix of the bone. So there's two parts to the bone. There's how strong it is, but also how flexible it is. So it's like a piece of chalk, it could fall and break. So two bones that have the same bone density on a test, one is healthy and the matrix, and I'll explain that in a minute, but it's flexible. So if it falls, it's not going to fracture. And that's a big point. And so what makes this matrix is protein so important for this collagen matrix as well as vitamin C, but you need this good protein. And so the research has shown that what does improve bone density and reduce falls is when people have adequate protein. So what is adequate protein? Because the RDA recommendation is not enough. That's what they found. It's not enough, which is the recommended dietary allowance. So it's at least 50%. Like there's one formula in the summit, people say variations on that,
yeah.
50% of your body weight. The Cultons, I think it's 5 point, you take your body weight times 5.4%. And then John Neustadt gives a little other formula that's a little bit higher, but absolute minimum is at least half your body weight in protein and more. It can be more, more than that, but that's the absolute bare minimum, where before it was in the 40s what the recommended dietary allowance is. And it's important though, the sources of protein, in terms of if you're eating the meats, you want it to be organic, pasture raised, grass fed, wild if it's seafood, because you certainly don't want any toxins getting into your food and into your system as well. But that's what they found, and they've just found that just too many. And if you're not, then protein powders. There's good protein powders. That's a good way. And both of the demonstrations show their favorite protein powder and how they put it into yeah, so especially also if people are vegetarian, it's just important. You sometimes they're not getting enough. So it's just something that a lot of people are lacking protein. Especially the other thing that happens is that when you figure out the number, divided up the amount of meals. And so there are people that only have 2 meals a day, and that's okay. There's not a problem. But then you need to make it up. You need to figure out, because sometimes they're maybe getting 10 grams of protein. So you have to figure out how can you get this protein into your diet, and so yes, so it's very, very important and something that is overlooked. And people are finding that as people age, they're just not getting enough. And again, we don't want too much. You don't want massive doses of steak, but certainly enough that it's going to, meet the requirements for your bones and the rest of your body.
And so a lot of people talk about different diets and so protein is one thing, but then there's a lot of people who are doing diets that are like keto which is more oriented towards fat. How is that in relation to bone health? Is that something that somebody talks about in the?
What we've learned with the bones is it's unlike some other things, unlike diabetes or other things where there's like one diet that's so important. Keto is absolutely fine. There's nothing wrong with keto in terms of just making sure you get enough. And I like, I like keto with a lot of greens in it because you can be it has to be a healthy keto.
Modified keto. I
You
like that better too. Like basically lots of veggies no matter what.
Exactly. So you can do keto with tons of veggies and good fat and good protein. So which would be a good osteoporosis diet. The reduced carbs, there is a talk in the summit about blood sugar and the relationship to bones. And there are people that have blood sugar issues, and that's going to impact your bones. So keto for a lot of people could be fabulous. So there's nothing wrong with keto. Just add the nutrients. Make sure you're getting all the nutrients, not just the protein and the fat. You need all the other micronutrients. So I think keto with lots of veggies and good fat and good protein is great, actually.
So basically it's trying to stay balanced is the whole
Never
key.
works. Exactly. There's so many different, there's not one. And I think that's what all of the speakers also said. We all know what's not good. We know sugar, we know processed food, we know it's not good. But in terms of being, the bones are sort of like the rest of your body. You want to nourish, but things that are critical to the bones, calcium, but not too much. That's something I see a lot. I don't know if you do as well,
Yeah.
where somebody will be getting calcium in their diet and then they see their doctor and maybe they say, oh, take calcium, you have osteoporosis, and they go on like, 1,000 milligrams. So they're getting that plus their diet, and more is not better in that. There's some research, nothing 100% conclusive, but there have been increased incidents of cardiac issues, kidney stones, problems with joint problems. We don't want the calcium going where it shouldn't be. And so
Yeah.
that's why like K2 is just something that's not talked about a lot in conventional circles, but yes, so, so important for the bones because it takes the calcium and gets it into the bones and sweeps it out of the soft tissue. So, yeah, so all those things are talked about.
Oh, that's cool. So you're also having people talk about what supplement, like how to supplement calcium, because that has become so controversial. And so
Yeah,
when you
people
talk
talk
about
about
vitamin
supplements,
K,
yeah.
yeah, yeah, okay,
And evaluation, I think that's a big thing. Evaluation is important because, most people just get the DEXA test. So the first day, actually, there's such a good talk with Dr. Keith McCormick, really talking about biomarkers and other ways that you can really assess, what's going on. Are
yeah.
you actively losing bone, or did you just never develop enough bone as a child? And the treatment's so very different for both of them.
Well, that's really cool. I look forward to seeing that one. Yeah. Any other tips that you would like to
Oh,
give
sure.
to our people today?
Yeah, I think the biggest tip I can give, I mean, there's so many, couple. So, well, in your world, Dr. Shiroko, we're both on the same page when it comes to reducing stress and increasing happiness and love and how that plays such a big role in all of our health, but it also does in terms of the bones. And you can't forget this piece. So stress and cortisol, the stress hormone, actually reduces the activity of the osteoblast, the bone building cells. And there have been numerous studies relating increased cortisol to increase bone loss. So as well as happiness, happier people have higher bone densities. So it all goes together. So in the summit, I've also infused that where every morning I give a little happiness tip because I just believe happiness is the foundation for health. So every day I give a little happiness tip and then I go over the day's speaker so people get a little understanding of what they should listen to. And then there also are speakers on some other ways to reduce, stress. and that they can do. So that's one thing that's important. That even if you get one thing, or start deep breathing, anything to start, or just listening to you will give them one. I know you have so many, or reading your book, so many phenomenal strategies. But I believe that that's so important. You can't ignore that piece. But exercise is so very important for two reasons. I mean, numerous reasons. But in
Yeah.
terms of the bones, the key problem, and I think this is one of something that's just a theme of the summit, is it's not your bone density, it's fracture proofing your bones. You don't want to fracture. That's the real problem. It's not that your score on your DEXA is low, but can you live your life feeling confident and not having a fracture? So what we do is, so exercise is really one of the most important things you can do for two reasons. One, balance. Everybody, no matter what shape they're in, can start doing some type of balance exercise, because most falls occur because, most fractures occur because there's a fall. So just learning daily balance exercises is going to make such a difference. And so actually before the summit, one of the free gifts they get, I did a little video. I think I show like 6 balance exercises. And if you just do that, because as you get older, if
Yeah.
we don't use it, we lose it. And most people aren't doing balance all day. And it's so simple. I mean, even just standing on one foot, stabilizing while you're brushing your teeth. I mean, there's a lot you can do. But the balance will really prevent falls. And in the balance, I show some Qigong as well as in the summit's Qigong, but just going backward and forward, shifting your weight side to side, then your body learns that. So if you trip over a rock or something, you have that motion down. And I can't even tell you, I work with the state of New Jersey. I volunteer and help them in their programs. And we added some of this Qigong and Tai Chi to the program that seniors are doing really all over the state of New Jersey. I've gotten so many emails thanking from the instructors of these programs that, oh my
Yeah.
God, thank you for teaching this Tai Chi, because so and so didn't fall, because they feel they really improved their balance. So it's something that, so number one, do the balance exercises and get on a safe strength training program, because there's nothing more empowering. And twice a week works. There's nothing more empowering than being stronger. But the strength training really has been shown to improve bone density, reduce falls. It's just so important. So many people are walking, which is great. It's weight bearing, it's good, but it's not enough if you really want to. Anything's better than nothing. But so many people just don't do that strength training piece. And when you add that, it really makes all the difference in the world. And that's what the research has shown truly increases bone density. So yes, you'll learn that. There's the
Yeah.
first day also, Dr. Sherry Betts goes over exercises for strength training. There's a couple exercises for strength training in there. But I'm just telling everybody listening, if you want to start doing something, just get started, even a little bit, just make it a priority. Okay, or see a physical therapist. If you have osteoporosis, that's covered by insurance. You ask your doctor to recommend a physical therapist. Make sure they have experience with osteoporosis, but you can get a customized program, but just make it a priority. So the balance, the exercise, nutrition, and stress, and you're good.
And that sounds overwhelming, but it's not really, because you
Mm-mm.
literally, this is one of the things that I taught in my part of the summit, is you can literally do things that just take a few seconds or even a minute. Balance is a thing that, what is it? There was an article that came out just recently that said that people who can't stand on one leg for more than, was it 30 seconds, don't live as long.
I
And
didn't see that. Wow.
yeah, it came out recently, like a couple months ago. And it's so simple to practice every single day for a few seconds. Like maybe make even a 15-minute routine. Some people, might feel overwhelmed by the whole idea of too many things to do, but it's not as difficult. Like the whole point of this summit, I think, is to show you that all of these things are possible and simple. And,
Not-
it's just a matter, it's not about doing something once a month or once a week. It's about doing a little bit every day.
I couldn't agree more. And overwhelm, I teach happiness. So overwhelm is our complete
Yeah.
enemy. And I
Yeah.
think when you get a diagnosis of osteoporosis, it's not an acute problem that you have to freak out about. Oh my gosh, I need to do something this minute. It took a long time. So the same thing in terms of the approach. I think do one thing when you're ready. And even though there's a lot of things in the summit, it's not to overwhelm. It's to just pick. It's sort of like a smorgasbord. Pick what you want to hear. And, it's always available if people want to purchase it to have it, but you pick what you want. And after the summit, I'm having a roadmap that people can, I decided after last year, I did something different, but this year I realized they just have a lot of information. They don't know where to start. So it's like 4 live classes with me and some other things, just really getting people, helping them, put it all together. But it's what I found successful. Again, I've been doing this for like over 25 years. Is pick one thing. One thing. Maybe go to Dr. Shiroko's talk and figure a couple of those practices and say, I'll start with that. And then when you add that, and that's part of your life, the next thing. And
Yeah.
okay, maybe I'll add something more for my balance. Or so if you just do it slowly, then it's sustainable. It becomes a life habit and it works. Have you found the same thing?
Yeah. And that's I think that's most important in terms of health in every way, but also especially for osteoporosis or some condition. It's not a disease. It's something that is an alert for your body to start to pay attention. And if you gently start lovingly paying attention and doing, like you said, one thing maybe every single day, it will create a change.
It's so interesting because that was the last topic actually of my podcast. I called it like an osteoporosis diagnosis can be what did I call it? Like a kickstart for your health. And I really believe that. I really believe people look back and they say, you know what, this was a blessing in disguise because
Yeah.
it made them, just like you said, take a look at their life. What's missing? How is their diet? How is
Yeah.
their exercise? How is their relationships and stress? What's going on? And when they see what's lacking, or is there a root cause of inflammation that they haven't addressed? And when they do address that, everything gets better. And so it affects every aspect of your life. But you're right, you don't look at it as though this is a disease. It's a condition, and let's see what we can do on a gradual basis. But then the changes accumulate, and there's such positive outcomes when people do address it that way.
Yeah. Thank you so much for coming today. I've posted right here the link to sign up for the summit. It is no cost, free for a whole week, and there are different talks every day that you can listen to. Mine is, I don't know what day, but you can listen to any day, and they'll be available for 24 hours each day. And then it starts next Monday, March 27th. And I've also posted it in the comments in case it's not easy to click on it here. Thank you again, Margie, for being here. I'm so happy to got to talk to you today.
Oh, thank you so much. And for everybody, you'll get Dr. Shiroko's talk right away. The minute you sign up, you get that talk to keep. Yes. So that's so exciting.
Yay. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you. It's been a pleasure.